So, critical thinking, there's a lot to say about this, and I found the information on the book and the information on Dr. Richard Paul very interesting. And really, it's just impossible to lay everything out in this video, and I think we all know that. So, this is mainly about the aha moments. So, let's start with the first aha moment I found on the book. I have the electronic version. I'm waiting in about 2 weeks for the hardcover version to arrive. So, well, the first aha is very simple. It has to do, I don't have the exact page number because I got the digital form, as I've said it before. So it says here that the problems we now face and will increasingly face require a radically different form of thinking, a thinking that is more complex, more adaptable, and more sensitive to divergent points of view. Well, I think the very first thing is he's talking about sensitivity. How is that really sensitive? The question is, critical thinking does require sensitivity. I definitely agree with that, but it seems to me that because of the pace of everything in this changing world, in companies, even in personal things we do, going to the gym, going for a swim, even going kayaking, it seems like everything is working out. Everyone is doing things faster, and they want to get to the point. So when we jump into an issue or a problem that requires critical thinking, something say on the street, uh, people don't seem to be very sensitive, and many people, arguably, vast majorities, generally speaking, if you will, don't seem to be don't take that into consideration. Why? Because everything needs to be done quick. So what I find here is that people don't really reevaluate. Part of this aha, the text shows we regularly reevaluate the way we work and live. So in order to connect this to my previous statements, personal statements, I wonder how often do we actually reevaluate, because we have all these points about clarity, accuracy, precision, depth, logical, breadth, and well, that's true, but that's always more, and we can see this probably more profoundly within an academic environment. But in the real life, it's really hard to imagine how people place all these intellectual standards into consideration. So that's my first aha right there. And I think that we're not really reevaluating all of these points, generalizing, of course. And the other thing which is connected, this is like the second aha, is that Dr. Richard Pauls talks about how depth is relevant, and I think it's very true. He quoted about H.L. Lincoln that for every complex question there is a simple answer, and that's not just the way it is. Absolutely, I think he's quoting that is very true. So because we have examples, and I like to work with examples. I think we always have to use further clarification, um, and I think that for instance, we have a problem here in our country. Last night I was in another city. I travel a lot, and people were actually stealing at around 10 p.m. at night, and people were trying to rob a store, and it's connected to one of my family members. So he made me drive there because he's older, and it, there were some barricades. The police were there. There was fire, and there were almost riots there. And there were some people who are just I don't even know how to describe them. They're not even people, if you will. And what ended up happening was my relative asked me to drop him there, and he would walk. And I said, if when it comes to critical thinking, is this really wise? If the police is already there at the place where they want to rob, then it's already taken care of. And then after a moment, before that, we passed near the area, and some just savages, because that's the best way to look at it if we want to be precise. savages were throwing stones at our cars and at our car, and I really had to hit on the gas and just exit. So I'm going to keep this short, but this is just one example of how my relative wasn't really using critical thinking. He used his emotions to see what was going on. Luckily, nothing worse happened, but it just goes to show everything was okay afterwards. But there was really no need for that because the police was already there. So there's no analysis. There was no critical thinking. It was just about emotion. And I think going back to my first statement, to wrap this up, um, things are working out so fast that we have to ask ourselves the question: are we really critical thinkers? Are the majority of us really critical thinkers, given this fast pace where everyone wants things just right now, at the moment, in all these big transnational companies? For example, people want results. So I find it very difficult.